Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Price Check Podcast here on the In the Zone Network, where we go city to city, state to state, worldwide. We back to check in on the NBA playoffs today after a crazy weekend of playoff action. You had some interesting game threes. We had some crazy game fours yesterday that we got to get into. Star-studded performances, storylines galore, everything. Time to tap in on it right now. And we got to start with the game that we saw most recently here last night. Phoenix Suns, Denver Nuggets. The Suns have tied the series. Now, I know the last video that you guys saw from me, the last bit of content I gave you, I said that the Suns are done. Chris Paul got hurt. You know, they had already lost the 2 games in Denver. I was mistaken. I was wrong. Clearly, I had been hoodwinked, bamboozled by the Phoenix Suns. They go out, tie this series up at 2 games apiece behind masterful performances from Devin Booker and Kevin Durant. You had 36 points, 12 assists from Devin Booker, 36 points and 11 rebounds from Kevin Durant, all while Nikola Jokic is going for 53 points on his side of things. So the Suns have turned this series back on its head. As they say, the series doesn't start until a team wins on the road. Well, this one, we're still looking for the starting point. Both teams have held serve at home. We go back to Denver now for Game 5. Now, before we get into kind of looking ahead, I got to take my hat off, man. I'm not wearing one, but my imaginary hat here. Got to take it off. Devin Booker is putting up superstar performances night in and night out right now in these playoffs and putting the Suns on his back. Now, the biggest key outside of Devin Booker and even Kevin Durant in these last 2 games here has been the pace. Phoenix has definitely tried to make Nikola Jokic and some of that size that they have on the Denver Nuggets roster, make those guys get up and down. They can play at a little bit quicker pace right now without Chris Paul in the lineup, who's going to try to walk it up, try to play at a little bit more of a cerebral pace. And you also, they've taken DeAndre Ayton out a number of times in key moments in these last 2 games. And to their credit, Monty Williams and his staff, they've won these last 2, and they've won them, pretty well in hand, even though the scores would be, lead you to believe they are pretty tight games there. But no real doubt about it last night, no real doubt about it in Game 3 with, Devin Booker having the performance he had in that one as well. So what do we make of this series moving forward? Chris Paul is probably going to come back at some point. We don't know his status yet as of now for Game 5. I think the Suns have to keep this pace thing going, though. They're not going to be able to get into a slow it down half-court versus half-court matchup against this Denver Nuggets team. They, especially going back to Denver, playing up in that altitude, Jokic and those guys, they're going to be prepared for that. They have to keep pushing the pace, getting out, running a little bit, getting out in transition, making these guys, have to get back on defense. That's really been the key. I think they have to make an even bigger emphasis on that here going to Game 5, because the truth of the matter is, tied 2-2, a lot more times than not, if you win Game 5, you win the series. And nothing would be better for Phoenix than to go in, steal Game 5 on the road, and be able to have Game 6 in the comfort of their own home back in Phoenix. So definitely something I'm going to be keeping my eye on there. Jokic, though, gotta show him some love, too. 53 points, 11 assists. Would have liked him to have some more rebounds, FanDuel. But all in all, hell of a performance. They didn't have enough against, KD and Booker. And, of course, Landry Shamet came out guns blazing there in the second half as well. Hit 5 threes, I believe, in the second half of that game. So, big night for the Suns to be able to tie that series up. We go back to the other game from Sunday. Philly, Boston. That Game 4 now allows it to be tied 2-2. Game-winning shot from Mr. James Harden. Another 40-point performance from him. 42 points, 8 rebounds, 9 assists. You even had Joel Embiid with a 34-point performance. Now, that series is tied 2-2 going back to Boston. I alluded to this a little bit last time as well. Joe Mazzulla, Ime Udoka, not really the same coach. And that's starting to show itself a little bit, not even just with intensity and how the guys are playing, but some of the plays that have been drawn up late in games here. Not really sure I know what Mazzulla is getting at here. They've drawn up a couple plays now for Marcus Smart when you have Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown on your team. Not really sure what that's about. Marcus Smart thought, he hit the game-winning three-pointer yesterday. Turns out he got that off after the time had already expired, so no shot there. And then Jaylen Brown with, I guess, a mistake that I understand, but essentially on that last possession for Philly in overtime, Embiid gets the ball. He's got Jason Tatum on him. So, of course, you go to help your teammate out. You go double. But he doubles off of Harden on the same side of the court that Embiid has the ball on. Embiid kicks it out. Game-winning three for Harden. And then, of course, the Celtics don't even get off a shot at the end of OT. So, the Celtics, man, I don't really know what to make of these losses. This is the second game now of this series that they just gave away. Game one, they essentially threw the ball away, literally right to Philly to be able to give them that game one win. It was a close win, even with James Harden's crazy 45-point performance that he had there. How many times can they get away with this? Now, again, they're going back home for game 5. So that's a game that I do expect Boston to be able to win. But I am not counting out Philly at this point. They've shown me, time and time again in this series that not only are they resilient, but when it really matters, they can still execute late in the games. James Harden, he's had his playoff struggles, throughout his career. As Jalen Rose once said, it looked like he's shooting tour dates, 2 for 11, 3 for 15, that type of thing. But so far this series, at least the 2 games they won, he's been huge. Now, again, he's had to drop 40 in those games. Can he do that again in game 5? We'll see. But unlike game 1, Embiid is going to be there in game 5. And so, how him being around and being able to slow down pace a little bit, take it possession by possession, him playing, I think, adds a little bit of an added element to whether or not the Celtics can hold home court. And it's turned into a best out of 3 here the rest of the way. So if I have to give a prediction, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I think I might take Philly. I think I might take the 76ers to win the series because I see too many times where the Celtics are just kind of checking out mentally on one play here, one play there, and it turns out to lose them the game. And I think this Philly team has that confidence now where, look, we played 4 games. We beat them 2. They beat us 2. Each team has won once on the road so far. It's not as daunting of a task as you would think right now for Philly to be able to go into Boston and win a game. So I think the 76ers win game 5, and I think they close it out in game 6 back at home. Now, would I be surprised by, obviously I'm making a little bit of an underdog prediction, would I be surprised if the Celtics won? Not at all. Celtics have been one of the best teams in the East all year, reigning Eastern Conference champions. Would I be surprised they came out, took care of business in game 5, then won game 6 on the road themselves? No, not at all. But I also wouldn't be surprised at them throwing away a couple games here and losing this series, kind of looking up like what happened at the end of it. So really, really interested to see how that plays out in game 5 tomorrow. Now, 2 game 4s tonight that we have to get into before we go. First up, of course, Knicks Heat game 4 in Miami. The Knicks did not look good in game 3. Jimmy Butler was back for that one. While he didn't have his greatest game, Miami was just too much overall for the Knicks. I think the Knicks just have too much of a problem being able to score the ball right now. They can't get enough buckets. And the Heat are also hitting their threes at a much higher clip than they hit in the regular season so far this postseason. And Jimmy Butler has been himmy, right? So I think all in all, this game 4 win should be fairly easy for the Heat. I got them winning, I'd say probably anywhere between 6 and 10 points. The Knicks are having too tough of a time scoring the ball right now for me to have, a whole lot of confidence in what they're able to pull off. So Knicks, unfortunately, while this could be a game where, hey, we get it tied 2-2, go back home for game 5, not so fast. I think it's the Heat series to lose at this point. They're going to take game 4, go back to the Garden up 3-1, and we'll see how the rest of the series plays out from there. But I do, at this point, expect the Miami Heat to be in the Eastern Conference Finals here within the next week or so. Now, the show everybody's coming to see, the nightcap, you got Lakers-Warriors game 4. Lakers coming off of an impressive game 3 victory At one point, we're down 11, 40-29 there in the second quarter of Game 3. Flip that right back around, going a 30-8 run to close the half, and don't look back at all after that. Go up by as much as 30 at one point on the Warriors. So I do think the Warriors are going to come back out in this game swinging. This has been a series of adjustments so far. I do think the Warriors are going to come out and have a better game than they had in Game 3. Now, the problem for the Warriors is, I say this is a series of adjustments. I don't really know what other adjustments they have to make. After Game 1, they went from playing, Kevon Looney and all these other guys primarily on Anthony Davis and putting Draymond Green on them. Draymond Green was on Anthony Davis in Game 3. It didn't work out. LeBron James kind of eased himself into Game 3. Didn't take a shot attempt at all in the first quarter. I don't know what the adjustments are for Golden State outside of make more shots, I guess get to the free throw line more. But even with that, they're not a team that this entire season that has gotten to the free throw line that much. And also, let's not forget, this entire season they have been terrible as a road team. So regular season 11-30 on the road. They lost basically two road games in Sacramento the previous series. So all in all, man, I think the Warriors are in a little bit of trouble going into Game 4 tonight. Now, of course, a lot of this is depending on what Anthony Davis we're going to get. Do I think he can kind of buck his trend at the whole play well in odd games, dip off a little bit in even games? I do. I like the matchup for him. I think there is some confidence that he can gain from just seeing how he was able to take over at different points in Game 3. And I also think the Lakers understand, again, they're undefeated at home right now. This is their best chance to not only take control of the series by going up 3-1, but if you look over at that Phoenix and Denver series, where now that series is going at least 6, you got to take care of business if you're the Lakers. Got to take care of business at home, go up 3-1, and kind of live with the results in Game 5 and whether or not you win, but know that you got a Game 6 in your building if you can't go out and close it on the road. I think all in all, man, this is a big game for both sides, but I think the Lakers, they really, really have to take advantage of how well they've been playing at home and also what that home win tonight would mean in a Game 4 to be able to go up 3-1 on this Warriors team who's, they've seen their fair share of adversity throughout this run, over the last 8 or 9 years they've been together. But right now, I don't know, you put that team down 3-1, even giving them, Games 5 and 7 at home. It's a lot to ask of a team that's been bad on the road all year long. And then also just a team that they're not as stacked as they once were. Andrew Wiggins has been back, but he's also not the player that he was for them in their run last year. Draymond, of course, we see that he can get in foul trouble. He's, a technical foul waiting to happen as well. Kevon Looney still dealing with a little bit of an illness. Klay Thompson was not hitting shots the same way that he was in Game 2 that he ended up doing in Game 3. So, I think it's a trouble spot for the Warriors. I think the Lakers win this one. I do think it is going to be a close game. Probably going to look a lot more like the Game 1 that these two teams played as opposed to what Games 2 and 3 look like in blowouts. So, Lakers, I think they get a close win, go up 3-1, take control of the series, and then maybe, be looking at a Western Conference Finals appearance, being one game away from a Western Conference Finals appearance, I should say. So, we're going to be, really locked in on what outcomes come of this series here, all series. And, of course, playoffs continuing to give us outstanding performances, outstanding games. So, 2 Game 4s tonight, and then, of course, we got the Game 5s tomorrow between Nuggets and Suns, and then also 76ers and Celtics. We'll be back again at some point this week. Because, of course, we just got to keep breaking this thing down as we continue to get through the rest of these series. But until then, till next time, your host, Josh Price. This is the Price Check Podcast. Check it out.